this is Marina from frocksandfrolics.com, and I'm going to show you how to sew a Granddad collar. We're using my cool shirt pattern for this, and I'm actually doing just the collar stand in a contrast fabric and the shell fabric. The important thing is when you put your collar stand on that you have an overlap of 1 centimeter to either side. And this is a fairly much an industrial method of putting a collar on. So you don't make the collar stand first and then put it on. You're actually putting the first one on, and that makes a much nicer finish. So I'm going to pin this in. I always start at the center back, and then I have the overlap on the center front, and then I pin it all the way across. If you want to see all the other parts of this, then you can do that at academy.frocksandfrolics.com, where all these videos for this are already uploaded. The next step is to sew this all in, and you can see here the overlap of 1 centimeter. And here I've sewn it on already, and now we're going to press it all the way around so that the seam allowance faces into the collar. I've made quite a few videos for this. The main video is from a few years ago and has a long sleeve and a cuff and placket for a gentleman's cuff and all that sort of thing. And these ones I've done because I'm showing you different techniques of working it, and it's also a little bit girlified, so it's a little bit different. Hop on over to academy.frocksandfrolics.com if you want to see more of it. Now I'm putting on the contrast collar, and that just goes right over the top, and we have the seam allowance standing towards the bottom now, and that will be tucked in later. So now I'm just putting it all the way around the edge on to the main collar. And then before I sew it, this is important, you don't want it to be as high, bearing in mind that on the higher sizes this pattern goes from 1 to 2 all the way up to 12 to 14. The collar already is slimmer, but you do need, for the smaller sizes especially, a much slimmer collar. So I'm taking seam allowance of about 1.5, and I'm also making the front a little bit less steep so that it looks good. You need to do it on both sides the same, so make sure that you compare what you've drawn. You can also measure it out, of course, or even make yourself a separate pattern. You could just do that. And then I'm going to sew on the line that I've drawn, and you want to use a smaller stitch length as you come around the corner, possibly 2 would be good, and then you can extend the stitch length again as you come to the other end, and then you make it small again. And now I'm just going to sew all the way along. People have given me such an encouragement to make some more videos for this because they absolutely loved that shirt pattern. This is one of my best-selling patterns. It fits absolutely fantastic. If you like a designer shirt for your kid, then this is it. This does not fit like, what you get from the Big Four. Then I'm going to lock in my stitches. And that's it. Now we're going to cut back the seam allowance, and it's important to leave the seam allowance standing here at the lower end. Don't cut much of that off because it's harder to then tuck it in. But you want to really trim it quite close to your stitching, about 3 millimeters. So very close all the way around apart from that little area there. And I'm going to tuck it in. There you go. You tuck in the seam allowance. You wrap it over the seam allowance that we've just cut back here. Yeah, so that's nice and flat. If you have to cut back a little bit more, you can of course do that. If your angle is a bit steeper, of course you need to have very, very little seam allowance, so it lies nice and flat. Looks great, right? I do love this. I think it looks really nice. And I pin this carefully just in the front so I can check that I've got it the same height. And then I'm ironing apart the seam. It makes it easier then to pin it. Lots and lots of steam, please. Now I'm going to iron that edge. Lots of steam. It really helps. Wonderful. There you go. That's it. Now we can tack it in. I start at the center back and do the front, and then I do the in between. And I have actually now started to speed this up a bit because this took forever. But it's worthwhile doing it well. You want to make sure that what you turn in just about covers the stitching line. You don't want it to go further, but you want it to be bang on the stitching line that you've already got. So when we're top stitching it from the other side, you will catch it. So we're stitching fairly close to the edge and you don't want it to slip out. That's really annoying. If this is the first time that you're making this shirt and you want to slip stitch it, then you can do that as well. Of course, you don't have to top stitch it, especially if you've got a sewing machine that doesn't really transport very well. Here it wasn't quite smooth, so I'm using a pin to just force it in there. That's what you do, and there we go. Last little bits. And there we are, we've got it all neatly done. Now I can start top stitching all the way around. Oh, something slipped out here, so I want to tack that in. And when we're top stitching, we don't start at the center front, we start somewhere in the back. Lock in your stitches. Find a really good point on your presser foot that you can line the edge of the collar stand up with. Carefully move round, lift your presser foot, needle always down in the fabric when you do that. And now it's going to not want to go really, so I push it a little bit and move over my presser foot. So you need to really force that. You could also insert some threads into that corner and just pull them. Now you can see here that I've got a little lip showing, so I'm moving out my pin again. This is quite dangerous when you've never sewn something like this before, because it might then all slip out and you might not see properly that I'm actually holding it down fairly firmly so it can't go anywhere. So if you are not sure, please tack this first so that doesn't happen to you. Sometimes when you don't take the pins out, you get like little loops underneath. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to avoid that. My machine is notorious for these tiny little loops, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So I like it to look like really, really nice from the inside and outside. So I'm pulling my pins out, but word of warning there, if you do that, you need a little bit of experience and you need to like hold the fabric down so that the seam allowance can slip out. Now I'm coming to the other side and I'd not seen that I'd run out of thread. Look at that. I'm taking all my pins out and I have no more thread. Can you see it? It's hanging at the back. And I went, oh no. So there we go. Look at that. So I had to go again. Anyway, you work your way around. It's a little bit easier from that side because you can actually really pull on the center front to make it move. So lock in your stitches and that's basically it. We are done. We've made a beautiful Granddad collar. All you want to do now is give it one final press and admire your handiwork, and you're ready for the next step. Every week you get another video for the cool shirt, so there will be another one next week, of course. If you want to watch the whole series, you want to catch up on all of it, or you want to see all the way through the end and binge watch the cool shirt, then you can sign up to the academy.frocksandfrolics.com. The link is in the description and you can watch the whole lot there, and it's all free. It's the same as on YouTube. And if you've already purchased the pattern and you want to be included in the course there so you can make comments and you can ask questions, then what you do is you send me a conversation in the Academy. That's easy to do. I'll add you to the course and you can watch all of this and also comment on it. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next week for another shirt video.